to be gathering today on these beautiful Lekwungen territories, where we make our homes and where every day we realize and we rise to the responsibilities of defending these lands from the systemic violence of resource colonial extraction. And I am so honored to be standing here today with what I call the heart of this movement, our dear Pacheedaht elder Teal Jones, who without his warm welcome, without his principled leadership and his courage in standing up to a process of 250 years of colonialism on his sacred homelands, that this movement would not exist. And so I'm grateful to introduce Elder Bill.
Glad to be here. I hope I'm speaking properly. Actually, I think all of you came out of the woodwork a long time before I did. I was imprisoned in a self-imposed prison of the colonial system where I blinded myself to comfort my own hiding, I think it is, you know. And finally coming out of the woodwork a few years ago, I feel that you are nurturing me and encouraging me, and you are indeed sticking up for our great mother. And our great mother is our great provider, and we are indeed her servants. I am so proud of all of you. I am so proud to be with you. I have never been involved in this much, and this is my first real, I guess, protest, I guess it's called. And we are here to give a message. Like our friend here said, Bobby said, you know, to speak to power. And I think that we have to do that because it is us that supposed to be legally empowering the governments to do our will instead of the will of the big business.
Shame.
The colonial system that we are now experiencing the dying phases of it, and the big money are fighting over what is left. And for that, I think we have to say that, hey, we have kids, we have a future. And I implore the government and the courts to realize that they are actually involved and exist to help us, the people. And for that, I implore the courts and the politicians, particularly our Premier Horgan, who is succumbing to, oh boy, business pressure, I guess, and leaving people and explaining it away that, oh my, we've seen so many times. And in fact, I'm so happy here that I want you all to come up and say a little bit, especially the younger and shy people, because I know I have always been shy all my life and, you know, almost mumbling all the time. But now I speak to say, we are going to save the forest. Yeah.
Tleko, Bill. Thank you for always your kind, your beautiful words touch the hearts of so many of us. I honestly could say I would not be involved if it wasn't for you. But I won't put that on you. My name is Bobby Arbess. I've been an ancient forest activist pretty much all my life. I was involved in the early frontline struggles in Cahics, in the Pacheedaht territory in the Walburn Valley. In 1991, we had a long-standing, very tenacious blockade for lasted 71 days, and that led to the creation of Carmanah Walburn Provincial Park. Sometimes I feel like I'm living in a state of deja vu. I have to scratch my head to think that we're having the same conversations, exactly the same conversations that we had 30 years ago, when we're saying, hey, how can we be destroying this incredible global heritage of the world's richest softwood forests for just a few more jobs, for some corporate revenues, for corporate profit? When we knew 30 years ago that the industry could transition to a sustainable management of the second growth forest, to the 90% of the lands that were clear cut and that are silvicultural lands, that there's lots of wood. We were told 30 years ago by presidents of the IWA who sat down with us in a room for 12 hours. We signed the South Island Forest Accord, which identified corporate greed as the #1 threat to both forestry jobs and to the forests themselves. And these union representatives, they told us in 1993 that there was no need to continue logging the old growth forest, that there was enough wood base on the vast tracts of silvicultural lands. And so we are asking the provincial government today, why are you 30 years too late? For my role as an organizer, I was the only sole named individual on the court injunction that is being presented to BC Supreme Court judge today in Vancouver.
Wow.
And people are asking me, why am I not in the courtroom with them? And my answer is because I'm here with my people. I'm not going to be spending my time allowing my soul to be drained by a system of colonial law that from day one has been about nothing besides the resource extraction from stolen lands here in so-called British Columbia. I might have been the sole named defendant on that court injunction, but I know that I am not alone. I stand proudly in a long line of forest defenders of these indigenous territories who carefully and lovingly stewarded these lands since time immemorial, that when Europeans arrived it was so pristine and so beautiful they could not possibly imagine how people could have lived here. And they perpetuated the lie of terra nullius that said that this is a land without people. But we know that this has always been a land that is peopled. This has always been a land where people have cared, have had a worldview that was about building relationship, establishing harmonious relationship with your relatives, which included all the non-human life that today the industrial status quo completely disregards in our wholesale destruction of these natural ecosystems for short-term profit. I am not alone. I stand with y'all, with 90% of the people in so-called BC who were polled and said that this is the time to finally put a legislated ban on the logging of old-growth forests. I am not alone. I stand with you who in your hearts know the truth. I stand with all the people that over 6 months ensured that our frontline blockades on Pacheedaht territory, at Ferry Creek, on Edinburgh Mountain, in Walburn Valley, would be supplied, would be maintained, where people would be kept safe and dry and warm over the winter months, and we did that. 6 months, Mr. Horgan, and not once has he had the courtesy to come before the respected elder in his own electoral riding and to say, "Hey, Bill, let me hear what you have to say." Not once! In an era of so-called reconciliation, in an era in which the government has signed the UN Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples into law, what we see day in, day out, the industrial status quo in British Columbia, where government only sides with First Nations where they are for resource extraction on their territories. And where First Nations stand up to oppose resource extraction on their territories, as in last year at this time, when the RCMP was called in to enforce an injunction on Wet'suwet'en territory to arrest people who are defending their own land from Coastal GasLink's pipeline. That's where the government is at when it comes to recognizing Indigenous rights in this province. I just want to speak